I want to address briefly the issue of cash bail or bail reform, or whatever you want to call it, that's currently happening in the United States. This is resulting in some absolutely ludicrous situations and some total horror shows of people literally being murdered in the street by deranged individuals, and you also got mass thievery, organised gangs plundering supermarkets and the like, because they know that there will be no consequences. The United States, not just New York, not just Illinois, not just California, but the United States should follow the UK system. What happens in the UK? Let's imagine, for example, a few weeks ago, or maybe not even that long, there was a young bloke nearly murdered from where I'm sitting now, probably less than a mile away. He was found outside an old folks' home. The police noticed it because the police had sealed off the area, and later they put up a wanted poster, and there'd been local appeals. Now, imagine that they arrest several suspects for that. I mean, very often if it's a murder or a high-profile case, they will arrest several people. They'll be questioned, and if these people are sensible, they keep their mouths shut without legal representation. And then they will be bailed pending further inquiries. Now, imagine they arrest one person. They've got eyewitnesses, they've got physical evidence, CCTV evidence, maybe forensics, which looks superficially promising. The guy's charged, and he'll appear in front of the custody sergeant, who will decide if he can be bailed. If he is bailed, he will be bailed in his own reconnaissance. For stabbing, most likely won't be bailed. So he'll be brought before a magistrate, or either a stipendiary or a bench of 3 magistrates as soon as possible, as soon as practicable. It should be within 24 hours, but there are exceptions. There's the weekend, and for serious offences and for terrorist offences there can be extensions. If they want the police want an extension, they have to go to court and get an extension, which will usually be granted fairly routinely. So the guy appears in court, and if he has a good lawyer, the man or woman will probably ask for bail to be granted, which may, again, probably in a case like this, probably not, but in a less serious case, that there may be granted bail with restrictions. He may be placed on a curfew. He may be told he mustn't enter a certain area. He mustn't contact a certain person or persons. There will be conditions. If he isn't granted bail, he'll be remanded in custody. He can then appeal to, I think it's Judge in Chambers. It's a long time since I studied this, but it will become before a judge, and he may get bail, but probably won't. In a very serious case, like a murder case, bail is sometimes granted in murder cases, but again there can be restrictions. Well, there will be restrictions in a murder case. You may have to hand his passport, maybe a surety or sureties, maybe other conditions attached, and failing that, he will be behind bars until he's tried. The idea of cash bail is absurd. It's, you know, I don't like to use terms these idiots use, but it is discriminatory. It is used against the poor and the working class, people who are at the bottom end of the food chain, so to speak. Somebody who's remanded in custody will have all sorts of problems. I mean, he might have to pay his rent, mortgage, etc. main reason I think for a lot of this recurrent crime is that these blokes go to prison for short sentences, relatively short. They come out, if they've got family, maybe all well and good, but a man without a family or without a close family, he would have lost his job and his home. What's he going to do next? Well, some people, I've met people like this, I've met quite a few of them, they'll come out of prison, and I knew one bloke, I would name him Peter Sainsbury. He was a professional crook. He came out of prison and he ended up starting a charity which he used for his own betterment. Charity begins at home. He ended up in prison again. But there are lots of people, professional crooks, criminal element, who they come out of prison and they have no problems. But there are others, recidivists, the people who can fall on hard times, they have nothing. So as far as reform is needed, it isn't for bail. It is needed. It is needed in this country. It is needed in the United States to bring it into line with UK practices. But as far as reform is needed, it's for men who've done fairly short sentences, who are released from prison and have nowhere to go and nothing to take with them. That is I think a major cause of recidivism and a lot of mostly low-level crime. So that's something to think about. But the current system in the United States is absolutely, really, it's untenable.